delay. But this is fantastic. How do I get now the link for this bad boy? If I hit the little arrow, what happens? Copy link. Okay, I'm gonna go away for just a moment and then I'll come back. All right, are we here? Let's let the little the timer's going. Nobody's here. That's excellent. All right, gang. So the thing we're making, I'm just saying this, I suppose, for the people who check it out later. The thing we're making is the thumbnail of this live video. It's a console table for a custom piece of furniture that I'm making for a client of mine. The trick with this is that all of the wood, well, I'll get you the whole big bad piece over here. All of the wood for the piece came from these massive beams. And so the trick is to take these massive beams and to slowly get them down to more manageable beams like these guys over here. And typically that's not all that difficult. However, the challenging part about this project is that those beams are too thick for any one blade that I have to cut all the way through it. So it's like, how do you get all the way through the beams and leave these really nice faces so that you can make those big beefy joints and not have them, oh, you should try to make a skateboard. Devin, you're in incredible luck here, bud, because there is a YouTube video, I think it's like the third to most recent one, that is a skateboard. Great video. You should check it out if you're at all into skateboards. So, hey, Devin. Hey to everybody else. We got a few more people here. Yeah, so the trick is, how do you get these guys into the form of that thing that's on the thumbnail when really none of my saws are big enough to cut all the way through them? So you have to make 2 passes on them. Oh, that's what I'm talking about, Devin. All right, yeah, check that out. If you skate every day, that's the video for you. Anyway, so we're gonna be doing a few different things today. The first of which is breaking down that massive beam over here. It's almost gonna be like a baking show. I'm gonna have different stages of the whole thing. So this is the beam that we're starting with. So first step, breaking this down into something that's more manageable. Part of that's gonna be really difficult because your boy right now is only down to one, I don't know, would you call this an in-feed, out-feed leveler? The other one broke. The screw on it broke. So I don't really know how we're gonna cut that massive beam without it crumpling to the ground once we do it. Then, after we cut those pieces, we will then be taking things that look something like this, right over here, to the jointer, where we will be squaring them up, cleaning them up. Then we gotta take those to the table saw, where we will rip them down to size. Again, tricky because the table saw can't get through these massive pieces in one go. So we have to do 2 rounds of it. And then we have a little bit of a saw mark there, back to the jointer, where we'll clean everything up, make it a really specific dimension. Then we will glue them together. Again, if you're looking at the thumbnail, you'll see that there's kind of a left set of legs, a right set of legs, and then the top. Yeah. Devin, that's what I'm talking about. Probably make myself a new one. Yeah, do it. Go for it, bud. So anyway, we're gonna get going. Because I'm actually going to be woodworking for a chunk of this, I might not always see comments and I might not always be talking. But if you leave a comment and you stay in the chat, I will respond to it as best as I'm able to in between steps. So the first thing that I'm doing here, and yeah, let me know also, I've got a mic on, so I should be able to keep talking with you, even if I go all the way over here. But yeah, someone in the comments, just let me know if the audio sounds okay as I'm moving around. What's gonna be a little difficult right here is managing this massive beam, because this thing probably weighs, I don't know, 100 pounds, 150 pounds. And I don't exactly know how I'm going to get it all the way up there. And then I know once I get it up there, again, I only have one of these guys, And so when I cut off the other end, it might come toppling down. We're just gonna give this a try. Lift with your back in a jerking, twisting motion, and that helps promote longevity of your woodworking career. Good grief. What the hell? All right, maybe we're just gonna try to turn this first. Okay. Might have to rethink this, gang. Let's move this out of the way for now. How many people are watching us just struggle with this massive beam? Oh, what up, dude? We got 28 people now. Yeah, Devin, that's safety. Mic works perfect. Thank you, Devin. I appreciate all of your help here. Honestly, we might need to move this guy closer to you. There we go. So I put everything on my shop on wheels because when I was kind of setting up everything in my shop, I assumed, correctly so, that I'd be making a whole bunch of different styles and pieces. And I didn't really know how I wanted it set up to be the most efficient for any one type of piece. So the saw on wheels, the table saw, wheels, the jointer, wheels, the planer, wheels. The lathe is not on wheels, and that's because I think they can like flip over if they're not perfectly hunkered down. So that guy is not on wheels, but the drum sander, wheels, everything is on wheels except this big beam. Is that gonna stay up there? Wouldn't it be fun for you guys if you saw something catastrophic happen? I was moving this thing around. Okay. Yikes. So, I suppose the move is going to be, let's get this as on there as possible. Man, if this thing goes, I just gotta accept it, move my fingers out of the way. I just don't know if this little piece down here. All right, that's all right. We're gonna go for it. Luckily, this roller should be at the correct height. So if I just lift that, which I can, it's only half of it, I can probably put it on the roller. Too easy. Okay. Yeah, this is when I wish I had another roller. And again, if you're just tuning in, I used to have another roller, but the screw that set the height of the roller broke. And because of that, it's kind of useless. Now you'd say, hey, Tanner, you can just go get another screw. And you'd be 100% right in thinking that. Oh, we got all sorts of people. Accident is boiling. Yeah, probably. Devin, we got something about a finger being lost? Yeah. Yeah, using a push stick is probably the right way to go. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I don't. I've been conditioned to trust my saw or rely on my saw more than I should because early on I thought it was worth it to get a saw stop. That doesn't really protect you against kickback, but the push stick's not necessarily for kickback. Okay, so here's what's going on. I've already cut these beams that are now much more manageable from other pieces or other larger beams like this. And once I did that, I was able to run them over the jointer to really square them up. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. I will be careful. Yeah, so I'm cutting these beams to make the piece that's in the thumbnail. Like I was mentioning earlier, this saw right here, it's pretty big. I think it's maybe a 12-inch. I should know that. I don't know what mine actually is. 10 or 12-inch, regardless, this sucker cannot get all the way through this piece of wood in one pass. So I have to make a cut, flip it over, make the same cut as perfectly as possible. But it is inevitable that when I do that, you will see there's like the top half and then the bottom half. And it's gonna probably leave a little thing like that. So this first cut, I'm not trying to get my beams to a perfect length for either the legs on each of the sides or that middle piece. I'm going to join the blocks together, and then I'm going to figure out how to cut it when they're already glued up so that they all are perfectly even to each other. That could be hard. Stick around for another live, maybe tomorrow, to figure out how to do that. All that to say, typically when I'm using my miter saw, I'm very fastidious about like, okay, I've made a mark and that mark is perfect. And then I'm gonna make sure that like, okay, the right side of my blade is on the left side of my mark to leave the perfect length for this side. But because I'm gonna clean it up later, I just need something bigger than the final dimension. And my piece of paper that I'm doing all this calculus on is right here. That's the piece that we're making right there. And then I don't know if this is backwards for you guys, so maybe this is all just, Sanskrit poetry that you're watching here. But I know that the width, and that's what I'm cutting pieces for, 36.375 inches. Now, because the legs go all the way up to the top, we have to subtract the thickness of the legs on both sides to get 36. And I can tell you that the thickness of the legs is right here. That's pretty dang close to what it will come out to be. And it's like 5 1/4. So 5 1/4 on both sides is how much we need to subtract from 26 and 3/8. So, 36 and 3/8. 375 minus, I wish I had my calculator, 5 1/4. So now we're gonna have 31 point, 31.125 minus 5 and another quarter. So we are going to get down to 26.125 and then a little bit less than that. It's going to be like 25 and 7/8. 875. And how long have I measured this to be? Something tells me I measured it to be 26 and a half, and maybe I just measured it to be 26. Seems a little, okay, yeah, I did 26 and a half. So we should have plenty of real estate on both sides. Yeah. 26 and a half plus 5 is going to get you, that should be good. I might give it just a little bit more for the hell of it. I have plenty of board left. How many people we still got? Oh, right on, guys. I have plenty of board, so I'm not too worried about running out of room. I only need 4 pieces here. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. So you can see that I still have at the end like almost 4 feet of board left. So there's no reason in me trying to be a hero and get it this tight. We're just gonna make it bigger. The only issue with making it that tight is that at the end, once I put all 4 of those together, it'll be like this, right? You see what my fingers are doing? I will then have to cut it to be really exact. And if I have a whole lot extra, technically that cut could be a little harder, but not by much, right? So I'm gonna give this a little bit more room. Let's just give it 27. And then what I'm gonna do is I already have marks on this thing, right? And it's a little bit, you know what? No, we're gonna make it 28. I don't know why I'm getting nervous about how much extra I'm giving it. So now we have multiple marks on this thing, right? And originally what I do when I make a mark is I circle it. It would look something like, make a mark at a certain, area, bang, right there. Then I'm gonna circle it. Because when you go get wood anywhere, like there's gonna be all sorts of marks on it anyway. And so I always like to circle things because then I know, hey, that was me, Tanner, making that mark in my shop. Unfortunately, I already have circle marks on here. So I'm just gonna, I don't know, scratch them out. You could try to erase it, but then you get some little smudges. And then I'll make new circle marks. You could do something too where you like, I don't know, star it. But all of this is going to get sanded and or jointed away. So I can color on this as much as I want to, and that's not an issue. Yeah, so 28 inches, that's going to be plenty. Now the trick, if you were just tuning in, is that again, I don't have an outfeed support system. Make sure you have a support system, guys, physically and mentally. No, I'm just kidding. So the issue is that when this goes all the way through, nothing is going to be on the other side to catch it, which is a bummer. I could use some clamps to really try to lock it down, but it's probably not going to be perfect. And I am going to clamp it while I'm making this cut. If you're watching, I do really like to practice a lot of safety in my shop. If I were to do anything like cut off a finger or something worse, what up, Big Squeegee? Mike is making stuff. How we doing? We're doing well, Mike. Thank you. West Coast, Big Squeegee. Yeah, we're down here central in Texas. But yeah, I like to have a lot of safety going on here because if I injured myself pretty badly, I mean that would like throw a wrench in all of this, right? I don't always exhibit the best safety technique because sometimes I'm rushing and I feel confident with things. I hope that doesn't bite me at the end of the day. But for this one, because we have such a big beam and this thing's just got so much potential energy up here, and when I cut this, both sides are gonna wanna launch off at different ways. I'm going to use a clamp to make sure nothing can move. I shouldn't need a clamp for this side because with this first cut, I'm not going to get all the way through. But if I have a clamp here, then I can just have my left hand completely separate and far away from anything near the blade. And then one thing I always really try to do anytime I cut anything is goggles for the eyes. Can't tell you how much sawdust I've accumulated in my eyes. I'm pretty sure it's osmosisized. I know that's the diffusion of water technically. It's diffused into my brain, but if we can prevent more sawdust from getting in my brain, that'd be great. Ears, ear protection. That's to make sure that I don't go deaf when I am 42. And then anytime I'm kicking up sawdust, I wear a mask. And I know this is probably overkill. I think these are actually, what's going on? It's more like, good night over here, Big Squeegee. Okay, chef, we might have you in a different part of the world. That's pretty dope. Anyway, yeah, these masks right here, I'm pretty sure they're rated for like fumes in paint, meaning that the filters are really fine. And the trade-off there is I'm probably getting a lot of the dust really filtered out, but it might be harder to breathe and it might not even be worth it because you could probably have smaller filters, less intense filters, still get all the dust, and you can breathe better. What do we got here? Matthew. Mike is making stuff. Hi. What up, dude? Yeah, Mike is making stuff. Sounds like you make stuff. I should go check out what you make. We're making stuff today, Matthew. And we're making that console table in the thumbnail. So without further ado, I'm gonna start cutting this. There's no reason to dawdle anymore. And why not measure twice before we cut once? We have 28, and 28 plus 2 of these legs over here, oriented in the correct way. 28 plus 10 and a half gets me 38 and a half, which is well over the width of the total table. And again, I don't know how easy it is for you to go check on the thumbnail to like reference what I am making. The P100 mask. Oh, right on, right on. Big squeegee, working at the hospital, saving lives. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the P100 mask. You know, there you go. Works for sawdust, works for bugs. There you go. Sponsor me, P100 3M. That's what we're gonna try to get out of this video. We're gonna go for it. I'll check the comments in a second. I need to get a haircut. If you notice that I'm messing with my hair all the time, it's an issue. Maybe I should tie it up. A little top knot. All right, let's roll. We're not plugged in. We are not plugged in. I also apologize if I have my mask on. You're probably not going to be able to hear me nearly as well. And if the saw noise is too loud, might have to figure out how to put the microphone in a different place so you don't hear it. I would recommend turning down your volume just a little bit while I make this cut. Here we go. And you don't need to do anything besides get it to just over about 50%. Man, that smells wonderful also. I'm working with pine here, which I don't typically work with. I typically work with hardwoods, white oak, red oak, padauk, mahogany, wenge, maple, you name it, walnut, whatever. Oh, not too loud at all. Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. But what happened here is that the client that I'm working for this piece, they had a beam that they wanted me to use. And so that's why I'm using specifically pine here. It was something else that they did in their house. I want to say like rafters for their bedroom. All that to say, pine smells lovely. You would recognize it if you smelled it. You might not be able to like think about it right now. However, I can directly put you in a place where you know what that smells like. And here's the story. I thought one day when I was working with pine, had it all over me, sawdust, wood chips, etc. I thought I smelled lovely. Thought I smelled like the wilderness, outdoors, like a lumberjack in a deodorant commercial sort of thing. I got around some other people and immediately they said, what smells like a hamster bed? Because I think hamster bedding, the little pine chips, that's pine, as the name would imply. So other people might think you smell like a hamster bed, but a fresh one, not a used hamster bed. So anyway, yeah, we gotta flip this bad boy and try to make the same cut. And that's the difficult part. Because I gave it enough room here, I'm not really worried about nailing the cut. Like I could do stuff where I get like a straight edge and do 90 degrees. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm just gonna eyeball it to get us pretty close. The tough part is actually gonna be flipping this damn thing. Oh yeah, okay. I should probably tighten my little guy over there, because if that went out, just be kind of deadlifting this thing, wouldn't I? That went fine. I also gotta make sure I tighten this and not loosen it here. All right, righty-tighty. Cool, so I'll put it to a little different location so you can see what I'm trying to do here. What do we got? What do we got? I love pine. Yeah, pine's nice. Looks like you need a beam saw. Cody, I probably do. I don't do a whole lot of work with beams. This was just a, one-time project. Matthew, since so do 18 YouTube channels. Good grief. Without them to be sorry. So if, okay, saying weird and forbidden things without them. Okay, so I think he's saying, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, that if I say something wrong, that's okay. So yeah, here's the cut that I just made. I've now flipped it. Now the key is trying to get that blade. Dang, that was pretty good, wasn't it? For this first one, I'll show you what I'm trying to do. I might even just do it for all of them to really, I don't know, be a good woodworker here. There's the right angle. So I'm trying to just continue this cut up, and unfortunately, that's the cut we're trying to continue. You could do it one of two ways. You could do it to where you're on the outside of it, and then you bring that cut directly like that. Then on the top, should be pretty easy just to eyeball. You can see what I'm doing here. I don't even know, can you see it? Yeah, you can kind of see it. So there's the line, and then you can easily eyeball that. You don't need to mark it. So now what's going on is if I wanted to try to make this as perfect as possible, I'd try to put my blade on the right side of this mark. I'll do that just for demonstration purposes. Let's see how I did. Dang, wait, no, I'm not even near flush back here. Hold on. Wow, that worked actually really, really well. So, can you see this? I think you can kind of see that. Maybe if I scooted you down just a little. Yeah, okay. So, we need to be on this side of the blade. The left side of the blade needs to just be on the right side of this line. So we got to go a little further. I hope I've angled the camera decently. But you can see, am I out as far as I can go? I am. Can we see that? Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Perfect angle. Thank you, chef. Is this thing on? Mike, I don't know. Sneaking. Oh, yeah. Check 1, 2. Yes, right on. Okay, that's the cut we're going to make. So now here's the oh, shoot. Hold on. So what I'm also looking at, you got to check all your little reference points, right? And I came back here, and I don't know if you can see that, but unfortunately, that's what we need it to be. That's what it is right now. It's really difficult to get these super, super long pieces, like flush everywhere that you need it to get flush. So I have to go over here, and to get that angle to be perfect, I have to probably move this thing like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch. And then in doing so, oh, that actually looked pretty good. That's good. And remember guys, with this cut right here, I intentionally am making it way, way, way too big so that I can come back later and clean it up. I thought if I were to change that angle a little bit, my line might be off, but surprisingly, that didn't move. I don't know what just happened, but we're gonna go ahead and accept it. This is the scarier cut because this is the one where things will actually start moving. While it's huge like this, I am actually going to clamp both sides of it, and I'm gonna clamp both sides of it with 2 clamps. What can happen is if you only clamp the back side of it, you'll have like internal stress in the wood where when it's all together, the wood's nice, straight, not moving, there you go. But when I free the left half from the right half, and this left half, this small half, doesn't have all of the connection points to the wood over here, the internal stress here is going to do weird things to it, bend it in, etc. And then also, if I'm squeezing back here, the bottom of this piece of wood is not flat yet. So I see actually a tiny bit of space right here. When you cut through that remaining, chunk of the wood, your two halves might even like torque on you. This guy could fall off. So I'm going to do more safety here because this is a big, bad piece of wood and I don't want to mess with it. And there's my logic. Once you put these on, sometimes it can be a little tough to put the clamps on and not have the beam move. Again, not crazy important for this one. And I did move just a little bit now that I'm looking at it. We're like, I don't know, a 64th, maybe a 32nd of an inch left. This does not matter because, again, I will be cleaning up this cut later. So, yeah, triple clampage, big squeegee. Yeah. Brandon, oh, what up? What up, Brandon? Matthew. Yeah, I'll respond to some comments here. Do you know Bailey Woodworks? I don't. If you want to lose a finger, yeah. The result I've given is a minimum of 24 hours time out, but haven't decided to ban him. Okay. Avoid the kickback. Definitely want to avoid the kickback. I've had kickback happen, especially with these big cuts. When you're almost all the way through them, what will happen is the wood, right when you get through it, the wood will like torque at the cut line, and then one of those pieces of wood can get in the way of the blade, and the blade can jump on you. It can also damage the piece, so you don't want that. But yeah, the double clampage. Let's see, Matthew, potentially. I don't know. Honestly, this is a really good live. Not this many people have joined up before, so thank you for everybody. I know that a couple people have mentioned stuff about moderation, so maybe after the stream, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to some people for moderation. That'd be sweet. First State Outdoors, what are you making? I don't know if I'm able to. Can I post a picture? I don't know if I can. Yeah, I don't know if I can post a picture in the stream, but First State Outdoors, if you looked at the thumbnail for this live video, that is the piece that I'm making. So gang, we're gonna do the next cut here. See if I can get you a good view of it. Still lined up, and unless I've gone crazy, that should still be 28 inches. Sometimes I get a little bit, I don't know what the correct word is, just very, very anxious about measuring twice, cutting once. With this, I can be a little sloppier, and I also have a lot more beam than I need. Do you see that failed little tape measure or retract attempt? We need some better tape measures out here. But so anyway, I'm just gonna cut through this. Watch what happens. Maybe I can even zoom in on it. It probably won't be super noticeable, but the moment that I get through it, things are gonna jump. You'll see it jump. And just watch for it, because that's what I'm trying to prevent with these clamps. Don't want the blade catching on so much material, either kicking the blade and something dangerous happening, or I could get the blade to jump into the material and mess up the piece. So I'm gonna put the mask on, put the goggles back on, put the earmuffs back on. See that hair right there? That's what you want. All right, take two. Just trying to get all the way through now and watch it jump. Yeah, there you go. So it did it. And it didn't do it super bad, but it still did it. And I can tell that it did it because when you look right there, are you able to see it? Like that wood, see how much it moved? And I got relatively lucky that it moved in a way that didn't pinch the blade. But this could just as easily have pinched the blade. I think we're probably more likely for it to do this, like to widen, because I've got these clamps over here trying to, force it like this. But yeah, that's why cutting beams is so difficult. If you don't have, I forget who said it, but the beam cutter. Move the clamps closer to the cut. I definitely could do that if there was a good place to grab it. And for one of them, there might actually be a good place to grab it. I'm fine with that. Like, that didn't spook me. That didn't grab. And again, I've made so many cuts that I can I can feel things in the saw and listen to things in the saw, and I can kind of know like if my blade and the motor powering the saw is working harder than I want it to, meaning that it's grabbing on something. That was actually a crazy good cut. Remember, there are 2 cuts that we made, and you can see right here, that's where they were divided by. But when I'm feeling it, that's really, 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 that might even just be like grains going different directions from the saw. So that was really good. Didn't need to be that good, but it was really good. So I'm gonna put that in a different spot because this is a different dimension than the legs that are over here. These guys. All these legs, different dimension. Okay, so that, I'm gonna just kind of race through that again, but that's what we're gonna be doing. And it's not gonna take too long. A lot of that was just discussion before doing the first one. Hopefully, most of the people that are watching right now now understand the concept of what I'm doing, and we're just gonna kind of roll, and I'll do it at the pace that I would typically do it at. We are gonna have to move this thing because I think we'll run out of real estate. And the beam is now lighter, which is fantastic. And there's 2 ways to now get your second measurement. One of the ways that you could do it technically is to take the old piece of wood and measure a line where that old piece of wood was. So you know they're similar. The reason I don't want to do that, 2 things. Number 1, let's say that I did screw that one up and I measured to 23 instead of 28. No one can see me while I'm yapping at you. Look at those bad boys. Oh, the legs? Yeah. Those legs are beefy, dude. It's gonna be an interesting piece for sure. So yeah, you don't wanna have an error that you made on the first measurement permeate throughout the rest of them if you're measuring from that first guy. Another thing that can happen is if you measure a really specific distance on that first guy and then you use it to make your second one, and then every subsequent one, you use the one prior to it to make the measurement for the next one. Like I use number 1 to make number 2. I use number 2 to make number 3. I use number 3 to make number 4. If you have any sort of like error in the way you're marking it, like let's say that your first mark, you make it a little bigger than the first one. And then using 2, you make your second mark. Number 2 is already bigger than number 1. But then number 2, same thing. You make it a little bigger. The error can compound and you can like actually have some significant change by the end of it. So I always try to do it the exact same way for all of them. Again, not massively important for this because I'm going to clean up all of these cuts later. This is looking pretty good. I'm going to use 1 clamp. There we go. When I'm making this cut right here, you could do the whole, there's a blade on the right side or the left side of your mark. Because I'm using so much extra on this first cut, I am just putting the blade in the dead center of the mark. Why not? Something else that I need to probably address with my clamps as I use them more and more and more, for glue ups particularly, you get little nobules of glue on the clamps, and it can prevent the actual clamp from sliding up and down the metal shaft, rod, whatever you want to call it, and that can really be a pain. So let's make another cut. We're going to measure twice. I'm going to measure the last one more time so I get a check on that one. Yeah, it turned out to be 28. Cool. This, right on the 28. I'll circle it so I know that's the mark that I just made. The blade still looks good. Don't need to clamp both sides because I'm just going halfway through, remember? that on. Now the challenging part, the flipping. But if I've already flipped it one time at that bigger beam length, this should be easier. The smell of gerbil cage is now once again permeated my shop. I feel like I've had my bedding changed out for fresh bedding. I'm a happy hamster right now. My owners love me. Life is good. Yeah, that was actually noticeably easier. And then after this one, it should be almost simple. So trying to line up the angle, that looks pretty good. Unfortunately, my cut is now nowhere near where it needs to be. All this sawdust back here can just kind of get in the way of getting a good, clean, can you see that? What we got? Clays? Forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. Do you have an Instagram? Matthew, I do have an Instagram. It's Outer Woods on Instagram. Yeah, thank you, yes. What's going on with the Instagram is I actually started that long before I started YouTube. This is what I'm working on back here. Trying to make sure this beam is flush up against my fence. Yes, Matthew, I have an Instagram. I started the Instagram probably about 3 years ago, something like that. And I've been very consistent posting on Instagram. Unfortunately, fortunately, depending on who you ask, Instagram was just the app that I started making content on earliest. That's just the one that I decided this is the one that I'm gonna do. Maybe it's easier to make content on it just because it's short form. Maybe it's the content that I knew better. I don't know. Regardless, I started on Instagram, and I started a while back, 3 years ago or so, and I've grown that channel to be, I think, around 130,000 followers. So yes, big Instagram channel. I'll send you some recipes for DIY abrasive paste. That's cool. Yeah, dude, I will gladly take you up on that. What's your name, by the way? I'm Tanner. Yeah, I might not have ever really said that. Yeah, I'm Tanner, everybody. Great to meet all of you. Thank you guys for commenting. On this cut, I'm gonna be a little sloppier than the first one. I didn't do it where I put the line on the very outside of the last cut. I just put the line in the middle of the last cut. I'm putting the blade in the middle of that line, and I'm gonna do it again. I will, I forget who said it, but I'll try to clamp this thing closer to the middle here, because I can do it on the front. I don't think I can do it on the back. Yeah, there's not really much of a great place to clamp it back there, but I do like that idea. Great idea. On the other side, I will do the same. Yeah, so the Instagram thing. I worked very hard on creating the Instagram page, and it's still very much a growing thing, and I, post probably 3-4 times a week, post stories, etc. I'm very consistent with it still. But about, I don't know, probably 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I started getting really serious about YouTube as well, just because I might have to get a drink of water, gang. Whoa. Yeah, I might get a drink of water. I just sucked up some dust or something. So come with me. Yeah, started getting really serious about YouTube because it seems like that's kind of a, I don't know, a more long-term place to grow and have it be actually a part of the business as a whole. I don't have a cup today. I forgot my water cup, so I'm literally just gonna drink it like an antelope at a watering hole. Let's see if you can see this. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, gang. Cool. Yes, big squeegee. Hydration is key. And I typically have a cup that I fill up and have my own little goals about how often I drink it and refill it. But I don't have my cup today. So anyway, yeah, YouTube, I'm kind of I see more of a clear path on how to make it an actual part of my business. Yeah, water's always welcome. It sure is. Yeah, and if you don't know, this is my full-time job, custom woodworking. I used to be, I went to school at the University of Texas for biomedical engineering, got my degree there, and then after school, I went into the orthopedic business where I designed shoulder implants for like 2 years or so. So I was a product development engineer doing that, but wanted to, I don't know, be the captain of my own ship, do something different, do something that I thought was like really worthwhile. Turns out designing shoulder implants is really cool, but I think it's more cool like from a 30,000 foot view of it, where you're seeing what the entire team or even the entire company does. But when you got really granular about what I was actually doing, and then even if I were to like go vertically up that career path, like what my manager was doing, what their boss was doing, it still wasn't super fulfilling. So yeah, I started this company, Outer Woods, about, we're almost at 5 years, which I think is a monumental thing for businesses, right? But the vast majority of it, the kind of business operations have just been making custom woodworking pieces. But when my Instagram channel started doing better, and I kind of started realizing like, okay, this can actually be a way to scale that's not directly linked to how many pieces I can get out of my shop. But now all of a sudden, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go, chef. Great to meet you, man. When I kind of started seeing that like, okay, content creation can be an actual part of like a business, I started getting a lot more serious about like what that actually entails. And so originally that was just more focus on the Instagram page, but then it's like, man, YouTube, if you can find your people and you can find the time to crank out these longer videos, like that can be a really good part of the business. And right now we're in that growth trajectory of YouTube. Like for an Instagram post, it'll be, let's say I make a 30-second Instagram post and I try to do that 3-4 times a week, right? Those posts, depending on how complicated they are, can take like an hour to an hour and a half, maybe like even 2 hours to make a 30-second Instagram post. And then I started making these long form YouTube videos, and there's like, I think we have 16 on the page now, but for a 16 or a 15-minute video on YouTube, between the build of the thing, let's say that it's not a custom piece I'm already making, let's say it's a new project I'm only making for YouTube, between the build of the thing, filming the build of the thing, editing all of the footage that can be hours and hours of footage, then adding the sound effects, adding visuals, adding music, producing it, then doing all the, you know, the hoops to jump through for like actually posting it. Title, super important. Thumbnail, super important. I would say 15-minute video is taking like 40 to 60 hours right now, which is super interesting because that's very much the direction that we're trying to take Outer Woods. But at the beginning, before the channel is really, you know, gotten to that next stage, you're looking at dumping 40 to 60 hours into a video that right now we're still very much in the it could flop stage of the channel. And even if it doesn't flop, like the last video that we posted did super well, we're still not getting paid for it. So it's really interesting having to sacrifice all the time where I could be making pieces like this that are commissioned and get me directly paid, putting this on the back burner so that I can find a whole work week that I don't get paid to make a YouTube video. It's interesting. It's a very, there's a lot of turmoil in the business right now, but it's super interesting. Have I flown a plane? Devin, I have not flown a plane. Big squeegee. No idea what link post you're sending, but you're good, dude. Yeah, Instagram is for post consumers. Yeah, totally. And then Finette, what up from France? That's so nice of you. Welcome to the video. Welcome to the chat. That's super cool that you're from France. Try flying a plane. It's funny. Yeah, I could. I don't know. I actually always have been a little sketched out of planes, even though I know statistically they are so much safer than driving a car. I don't know why. I have this feeling about them where it's like I don't want to be in a situation that I don't want to find myself in a situation where I can't do anything to improve the situation. And I know the same thing can apply for driving if someone else hits you, but especially like on commercial airlines, if something goes down, I can't do anything. The same reason I started the business, I like to be the captain of my own ship. Saw in the plane, oh my gosh, Devin, that's crazy. Good on you, dude. I'm glad that you feel so confident doing that. Wyatt, what is up, my man? Great to have you on the chat. Scaling with purpose. Oh yeah. I think I recognize that little, what do you call it? A profile picture? I think I know who you are. What up, Scaling with Purpose? The name also is very much in line with what I know you to be doing. Yeah, great to see everybody. Let's keep rolling. I got to make this cut because I'm stalling now. Just like Devin likes to do with his planes, I suppose. Okay, let's make a cut. And remember, this thing might jump on us. Let's see if it does. I'll get you in. We can also see from here whether or not I nail the line. I'm guessing I'm not going to nail it quite as good this time. I'll get you on this side. You still see it? Oh, yeah. All right, let's do it. Look at that. I forget who said it. Yeah, I forget who said it, but clamping it closer to the center, that was the move. So thank you for that suggestion. Turns out I had a place I could clamp it from the center. So now we got 2 of these done. We need 4 of them done. I'll try to get a little bit of giddy up here in my get along. And actually, look at this. The top of that is not too bad. It's definitely more noticeable than the other one. I can feel it, but we're cleaning all that up, so it really does not matter. Yeah, Devin Stall's plane, we still cutting wood. Yeah, we do. We really do. Part of the reason that I'm stalling a little bit on this one is because I have made some pieces for this client, and they're very lovely. They're very nice. I've been extremely happy to be, quote unquote, their go-to custom woodworker for furniture needs that they have, art needs that they have. I've done things like change out the legs on a couch for them because they bought a couch, loved the couch, didn't love the legs. So I had to come in there and perform surgery on it because unfortunately, those specific legs that they bought, why are there? Oh, I know why there's an extra one. They didn't quite love. So I've done quite a few things for them, but something that I will show you in a moment here, after maybe we get a little bit further in all this, is they are, and they have the right to be, quite particular about their pieces. And I know that based on things that I've been asked to do from them, but then also I know that because I, quote unquote, finished a piece last week. Oops. And it's interesting. So I think the beam is bending a little bit, or is bent a little bit, and now I need to raise it ever so slightly because that end over there is kind of sitting up a little higher. So I'm gonna see if I can get, there you go. Yeah, that was good. So I just got it with my shoulder, and then I just brought the roller up to where I was, where it was. But anyway, there's a piece that I thought that I finished last week. And there were some joints on that piece that weren't quite tight enough. And they were really, I'll show you here in maybe a little bit. They were really difficult to do. I was trying to do something called a waterfall joint with a really, really big radius of the waterfall. And it wasn't one, if you know woodworking at all, where I could have done something called make a kerf cut. Right, I'm just checking in on things. Okay, yeah, if you've ever done much woodworking, you'll know there's something called a kerf cut, where you can cut almost all the way through a piece of wood, and you leave just a little bit of material, enough that you can bend the wood around that thin material. The problem is from the sides, you can see the wedges where your blade went through, and so it's not perfect solid wood. So instead what I did for this one is I made these solid wooden wedges that each had like an 11.25 degree cut to them. So when they all added up, it equaled a 90-degree turn. I'll just show you the piece. Here we go. This is the piece right there. So you can see this is that curved corner. Now we know what I'm talking about. But I tried to make it to where all of those wedges were a waterfall joint. So all the grain stayed continuous. But to do that, it's kind of a long explanation. Long story short, the joints weren't perfect. And because the joints weren't perfect, I am now going to have to do some major reconstructive surgery on that piece. And I'm not even saying that it wasn't merited. It maybe was merited. It was not the best joinery that I've ever done. What I am saying is that the lines are not really bad. Like, it's just slightly not perfect. And whether you agree or don't agree with if it's merited, I have to do it again. And that's all to say that these clients are very nice, they have a beautiful home, and they're very particular about what they want. And I charge prices at this point that would indicate the work is perfect. Which is why on this piece, yeah, I'm just a little nervous to get it absolutely perfect. And it's also difficult to make sure I'm doing everything correct here while also talking to you about different things that aren't this. So bear with me. This is just the halfway cut here. Now we turn it. The smell of pine, beautiful. I'm also unrelated, big into the outdoors, but especially things like backpacking, hiking, and then also, you wouldn't expect it as some dude from Texas, but I love to go snowboarding. Both of those activities, you're typically in pine forests. And so this smell always takes me back to some of the things that I really enjoy doing. And again, I don't work with pine very often. This is kind of a rarity that I'm making a really nice piece out of pine. The good news is this piece is not going to be heavily used. It's a console table. Again, you can check out the thumbnail if you want to see what I'm trying to make. How we doing, everybody? We still here? Thanks for stopping in, Devin. Yeah, man. Oh yeah, go to the skate park, dude. Illegally attractive in 15 states. It's sick. I just, you know. Oh, what up, GR? Finette, we're still here. Yeah, we need a tripping sign. We definitely do. I'm not the most organized woodworker that has ever worked wood. And so I step on things quite a bit. And it's always a little awkward. I'll have like someone come over to the shop, you know, looking at a piece of theirs or checking out wood or whatever it might be. And I'll try to clean up a little bit so that they're not like appalled of my workspace that I operate in. But inevitably I leave things on the ground and they're always stepping on stuff and I feel bad because they feel bad. And I'm like, hey, look, if it's on the ground, You can step on it. That's on me. That's not on you. Don't know what I was saying before any of that. Yeah, seems like a simple piece, I suppose, but just a little anxious about... and maybe here's why I'm anxious. A lot of the pieces that I make, I wouldn't say rely on, but I make pieces that are pretty unique. Like, I make pieces that kind of, let's just go ahead and say rely on the design of them, like the spectacle of them, the effect of the piece. So like when you look at it, you're like, oh shoot, that's really unique. I've never seen something like that. And there's a big effect on you. But unfortunately with this piece right here, the design of it, the effect of it is really, really simple, which means the quality of the piece or the total effect of the piece really relies on how perfect everything comes together, like the quality of the joints, the quality of the seams, things like that. And again, it's really difficult to work with wood this massive because I don't have a whole lot of machines in my shop that are able to make clean passes over the entire surface because these surfaces are so big. Let me cut this last piece, we'll keep talking. We'll get you closer. I will say, having the clamps like this, it definitely makes it to where the beam doesn't move nearly as much once I get through the cut. However, see up there? It's kind of getting on me. That's all right. Okay. I missed it a little bit that time, but that, again, does not matter. Another one for the pile. If you're also noticing that this beam has quite a few cracks, you wouldn't be wrong in noticing that. I think the good news is about that, number one, they provided the material, so they know that there are cracks in it, and I think that's also just like kind of the aesthetic of a big old wooden beam, if you know what I mean. The other thing about it is that you're probably going to be a little bit shocked with how small this piece comes out to be. That is, I would love to eat that if I was a beaver. That feels really nice. Smells wonderful. But it's actually a really low piece. The top of it comes to 24 inches tall, and it's like in this three-walled nook. All that being said, I have the ability to move the cracks to sides of the piece, sides of each of the three sides, like faces of each of the three sides rather, that are less visible. So for instance, I actually want the worst faces of the legs to be facing outwards because those will just be in a wall. The inside of those legs will actually be much more visible. And then obviously on the top, I want the top to be the best surface, and if there are cracks, I can flip those beams over to where the cracks are on the bottom of the tabletop. All right, I see a little bit of action in the chat. What do we got? Chef. Yeah, the massive wood is tricky. You are correct. You're like zero. Yeah, from the movie Holes. Yeah, I think he eats the dirt. Great film. Absolutely wonderful film. Yeah. Big Squeegee, that was a childhood defining movie, Holes, which could date me, but I think that's okay. I feel like I'm at a good age right now. One more cut, and then we get to go on to another tool, and we'll see how much we get done there. I have someone coming to the shop at 2 Central, and it's 12:44. I also need to eat lunch. Your boy has not eaten lunch. So maybe we'll do that at some point, or maybe not. 28. Yeah, the goal of today is to get the top glued and the legs glued. And this is my own thing that I have to deal with, but I can tell that I probably am going a little slower right now, talking to you guys, which is great. I'm enjoying doing it, but I need to make sure that I'm moving along. 28 has not changed. I'm not going crazy. There you go. There's 28. Excellent. Let's get this nailed down. At this point, the beam is extremely easy to maneuver. A little big. Come on. That looks pretty good. That's fine. Also, the in-feed, out-feed that I use is Husky. And no shade to Husky, in case there's a Husky representative in the chat right now talking to his or her managers about a gnarly sponsorship. Assuming that's not the case, not the largest fan of some of the things Husky related that I have bought. Those rollers right there, they don't have, they like wobble, which isn't fantastic, and the roller is a little cockeyed. And then my goggles that I use are also Husky, and I can tell you that I still get sawdust in my eyes while wearing those goggles. So yeah, Zoompa, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Welcome aboard. Okay, still here finishing my board. So Devin has already made a skateboard in the time that we have been doing this live chat, and he's now finishing his skateboard. Well done. Zoompa, doing well. Thank you. Welcome aboard. We're making a table today, and the actual table that we're making is the one in the thumbnail. Sorry for those of you that have been here listening the whole time. We're still at 28. The line hasn't moved, don't worry. And the blade hasn't moved because it's been clamped. Let's cut this. Okay. Yep. Making a cut, just halfway through. Beautiful. Can't make a better halfway through cut than that. Take this off. Now our beam is very, very easy to maneuver. There's glue on it. I can get the glue off. Okay, the glue is now off. There's like these little glue nobules that I must have gotten on this piece at some point. I don't know even when. They are now off, so it'll sit flat on the miter saw. Okay. Then just a super easy little line up here. How are brother? I imagine that is me we were talking about. I'm doing well. I'm a little stressed right now, generally, purely about the business. Life is going well, but I'm always stressed about the business. It's my baby. And the reason I'm stressed, well, I'll tell you a few of the reasons. That's on it. That's freaking on it right there. Number one, these custom pieces. Again, I'm working for a client here that I have a good relationship with. I've done other pieces for. They're very, very lovely, have a lovely home, but They are particular, and so I have to show up making the best pieces I am capable of making. The other part of that is they want their pieces to be done as quickly as possible. And that phrase, as quickly as possible, is not a timeline I love operating on. So that's part of it. They have 2 pieces that they want. That's pretty good. Hold on. So that was an interesting thing that was happening there. I don't know if you could hear it. I could feel it, but what do we got here? Devin. Devin is back, and his handle is now planes. You look good for the meeting at 2. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll do a quick lunch. It'll be nice. Yeah. So I don't know if you could see it or hear it, but I felt the blade having to work a little harder to get through it at the very end. And I think what was happening is that, I don't know, there might have been more internal stress. I might have clamped it weird, but I could just feel that as there was less and less and less material connecting the 2 sides, things were moving around and something was grabbing my blade. So at that point, the best thing to do is just like release the pressure, in my opinion. Apologies if you have a different opinion. Release the blade, still in there, and let it just kind of come to a stop. Once it's coming to a stop, I then release it from inside of it, then I make another cut. Now what can happen on that second cut is that the wood has now shifted a little bit, and when you bring it down, you're probably gonna hit new fresh wood you did not hit on the initial cut. But I knew that the far side of this is scrap, I don't need it, and then I also knew that the part that I did need, I have extra. So prioritize safety there. Honestly, that still turned out to be a pretty good cut. So that's what happened. Now we have these 4 big blocky things right here. The next thing we need to do is we need to, well, I'll kind of give you a little bird's eye view of what's going on here. These guys, they are going to be glued together like this. Just like this. And that will be the top of our table. Okay? So 2 things need to happen here. Number 1, the interfaces between these pieces, or the joints as they are called, are decent right now. I think the beam was pretty flat, so all of those faces in between the beams are decently flat right now. But I can tell you unequivocally, they are not perfectly flat. And whether it's for this client or a different client, I kind of operate under, let's make those joints as tight as we can possibly make them. And to do that, you need those to be perfectly flat. The second thing is that these faces have not been touched either. And so they could have, you know, some different levels and surfaces to them. They are not perfectly flat. They also don't have fresh, new, clean wood showing. This wood has all been oxidizing. There's pencil marks on it, etc. Then the third thing is that this needs to be, I have my piece of wood around here somewhere that tells me the exact width of this, but it needs to be something around, I think, 25 inches, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say it's like 24 7/8, I think. And you can see right here, you might not be able to, I'll tell you, this is 30 inches. So each one of these has to come down to be 6 and I believe it's 1/4. I think it's 6 1/4 inches. I'll check my measurements again, but I think it's 6 1/4 inches. So what I have to do is I have to take each one of these now to the jointer, and I need to clean up 3 of their sides, just 3 of them. This is just to make it nice and smooth, both of these, and to uniformly get them all to the same thickness. And then I'm going to flatten this side, but not both sides. And the reason I don't want to flatten both sides is because I just need one side that's super flat to go along the fence of my table saw. The other side I will then cut, but what I have to do is I then have to flip it because this doesn't go high enough and I have to make another cut. So then the inside face is going to have those cut lines, and then I'll take it back to the jointer, I'll clean that up, then I will have pieces that look exactly like this. That's what we are doing next. How are we doing on time? We've been going for 75 minutes. Planes, we got a few different accounts, that's what I'm talking about. Great to see you. Thanks a bunch, honestly, dude. Gerald, how are we doing, bud? Good to see you. Thanks for joining the chat. We still got some people. Why not keep going just a little bit longer? All right. So this is a jointer. Bang. Really helpful piece of equipment. Basically, you have an in-feed, super flat piece of metal, and then you have this helical blade right here, and the helical blade is raised up just a little bit from this in-feed table. And then the outfeed table right here, theoretically, is the exact height that this helical blade comes to. So when you pass things over this, you are not even just cleaning up the surface, you are getting the surface perfectly flat, which is then how you can joint things together. That's what we're going to be doing. Okay, and I'll bring one of these pieces over here. This is what we'll be doing on the pieces. I want to do a cleanup of the best looking side because I'm going to be cutting off, from the other side, and I think it's like an inch or so that I cut off. So I'm seeing this crack right here. Can you see the crack? Yeah, I'm seeing the crack right here. And I also see, looking close at that crack, that it only goes down like, I don't know, a half an inch or so, meaning that if I clean the other side up on the jointer and then I cut off, like right there, I can actually get rid of a lot of the defect in this piece of wood. So that's the goal. So we need to leave this side. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. And the other three sides completely flatten. Right now, I'm not going to be too worried about making sure that the thickness, you can't see that at all, the thickness of this piece, I'm not going to be laser focused on making sure that's uniform. I'm just going to start off making sure this side's perfectly flat and this side's perfectly flat. Once I have all of them to that flatness, then I will come back and make sure the thickness of all of them is the same. And then this side, same exact thing. I just need to go until it's perfectly flat. And the way I know it's perfectly flat is it's a sound thing and a feel thing. You might not be able to tell just watching, but when I push it over it, I'm listening for a sound, and if I hear any changes in the sound, I know that the blade is not contacting the entire bottom surface that's going over it. If I hear just one uniform drone of the blade, we're golden. That's what we're going for. This one is scary because if you do it incorrectly, your arm or your hand could go into the blade and it would eat it. It would just eat it. So I'm gonna try not to do that. I have some little paddles over there that I can use. I have to make sure that the faces are all perfectly 90 degrees to each other, which can be tricky. They're supposed to be very close, but this fence back here is perfectly 90 degrees to this. And so I'm looking for, that's pretty good, but you can see just like a little bit of space down there. So with my hands, I kind of have to like maneuver it into the blade on the first couple passes to establish the surfaces at 90 degrees. What I'm doing here, this guy, is I'm going to turn on my dust collection, which is hooked up via that hose to this machine. This thing absolutely pumps out wood chips, so I need to hook it up. I probably could have hooked up the miter saw, but I did not. It'll be a little loud. That's all right. Hopefully, because I have a mic on, you can still hear me rather than that guy. Let me get my mask real fast. Where's my mask? There it is. Okay. I need to plug it in. It's not going to do much if I don't plug it in. This guy requires a 220 volts source. Noise we can handle. Safety first. Yes, sir, Big Squeegee. Big Squeegee, we can still hear you. Thank you, guys. All right. Oh, hey. That's great. That was great. What I'm pleasantly surprised about, now this is the content for real, very satisfying. Excellent. That's fantastic. The more satisfying content is when I'm not actually yelling at everybody. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be both, forever and always. So what was really good is that the natural, I'm telling you that all the surfaces of this beam are pretty close to flat. Like you could tell what the surface is, right? But they all have little micro undulations. Great band, by the way, micro undulations. Just kidding. But when you run them over this jointer, like this thing gets literally, it's so flat. I don't know how to describe it other than it is so flat. But the nice thing was when I was running it over it, the natural faces as they were already pretty much perfectly 90 degrees to each other. So once I cleaned up this face, and this face, they're all now very much 90 degrees to each other. This guy's now good. He can go over to the table saw next. I'll just put him on here. Yeah, the table saw is going to be where he gets trimmed down to not quite his final width, but close to it. And the reason it's not quite his final width is because there will be just that little bit of, I don't know, an interface in between where I had to flip it, and the saw had to go two passes. What do we got? Finette. I didn't hear any change in the sounds. Am I wrong? I don't know. I don't know. I have not. Oh, in the sounds. I understand what you're saying. No. All of the passes that I made on that, you're correct that the first pass on every single one cleared off all of the old wood, and it was left with pristine wood 100% of the surface. I also didn't hear any changes, which indicates to me, yeah, we got the entire surface. I did one of them twice. I don't know. That was more just like yeah, why not? And I know that I wanted to do a couple of them twice because on the other beams that I've already done, I know that I had to go a few more times, and so they're going to be thinner. I don't have to match those because this is the top piece, and there is no way for you to determine that the top tabletop is the same thickness as the legs. I mean, as long as they're not like egregiously different, like an inch or two. They're going to be like maybe 1/4 of an inch difference. No one will be able to tell that. So these, I'm just going to make sure they're all flat to each other, but I don't need to make sure they're the exact same thickness as the legs, if that makes sense. So why not? We'll just keep going. If Big Squeegee and Finette here said that that was pleasant to listen to, then we'll just do it again, and I'll quit yelling at everybody. So let me get the camera angle here. I'm going to do it from a different angle, so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. Here's what the blades look like. Helical blades. Yeah, this thing can crank through some wood. You'll also see the dust collection machine going. Let's just do it again. The one thing I'll talk you through again is we will pull the next piece. And unfortunately, I kind of see cracks on both sides of this. So not a real clear answer. This side, the whole thing's going to stay. This side, the whole thing's going to stay. It's which of these smaller faces, this guy or the bottom, is going to stay. What I am seeing is that, can we see this? The crack on this one goes down to right here. And the crack on the underside goes deeper. And if I check it with the other, yes, that's correct. So this crack on the bottom, I don't think I'm going to be able to get rid of regardless. If I chop this side off, I might be able to get rid of this entire crack over here, meaning that I leave this side, because he will get cut later, and then I need to surface this side, and this side. So I'll just make some marks on it. I'm going to surface these sides right here. Cool. Let's do it. As far as which side I do first to try to establish those 90 degrees, epoxy resin. I could Fortnite, the King, the Vikings? Something like that. Welcome aboard Fortnite the Vikings, if I'm saying that correct. I could, however, I don't think I'm going to on this one. It was never agreed upon that I was going to do that, and I think they want the rustic look of the beams with the cracks, so there you go. Yeah, so which side I do first? I kind of look to see which side's giving me the best 90 degrees naturally with the fence over here. You can't see that. With the fence over here and with this base. So I'm kind of flipping it around, looking for the gap or lack thereof that happens right here. We'll see if I can position you to see that. That might be the position. That's what I'm looking for when I'm determining which side to hit first. So let's do it. Let's do the second beam. And again, this machine right here, it freaking tears through wood. So my dust collection, I'm hoping that I can get through this before I need to empty it. I don't know if that'll be the case. So I'm looking before I turn this on. That's pretty nice. Do we see that? There's no gap. I have no idea if you can see that. There's no gap here, meaning that this surface and the surface going down are like perfectly 90 degrees. So I'm just gonna start here and we'll go from there. Okay, how we doing? I saw something kind of... Are we back? Okay. Are we back? We're back. Someone called me and I tried to forward it to voicemail, but then all of a sudden, yeah, okay, right on. GR, appreciate it. Finette, appreciate it. Yeah, what's going on? Fortnite, the Vikings. Forgot to log out of my son's account. That's totally cool. It all works the same. Fortnite's a great game. I haven't played it in years, but great game. Okay, here's what went down there. Everything went great. The first pass on the really broad surface, it went through like 90% of the wood. And I could just feel like on one of the corners, you can just feel it. It's not nearly, like look at how, you see how smooth that is? Like that's perfectly flat. Not this face, this face. Like that's how you can tell is by looking down the side of it. Look at that edge up there. Super nice. It was not like that before. Like for instance, which side hasn't been touched? This side. Let's see if it shows it. It might not. Yeah, it looks pretty flat too, doesn't it? I promise you this side is less flat than the other sides. So yeah, I just had to run it through a couple times to make sure that I did in fact get 100% of that surface completely cleaned up. What do we got? Amazing, so satisfying. That's wild. Yes. Yeah, we have our own sign system too. That was improv. Oh goodness. Something about tax reviews. I hope I'm getting a message. I hope that that's not legit. Okay. It's like listening to ocean waves. Incredible, fast rotating, sharpened, hardened ocean waves. That is it. That really is it. I love to watch your work. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. He was like, what, Fortnite? Yeah, seriously. Okay, let's do it again. And yeah, see if you can, while I'm going, I'll try to show it in between every single pass. I don't know how clear it is to see that surface, whether or not you can like determine, okay, that surface is 100% clean, or no, that surface is 70% clean. I can feel it is kind of actually the main way. Like the new one, like you could, I don't know if I would, but you probably could just immediately put a finish on that. You would not, like it's very smooth from those blades. However, the stuff that hasn't been hit by those blades, you can feel it, it's rough. But yeah, see if you can listen for it to see if you can hear like, okay, yeah, that like 3/4 through that pass, I heard the noise change a little bit. So it was probably only getting like, I don't know, not quite all the way through it. You know what I mean? Just see if you can listen to it. I'm just gonna go, I'll try to point to things so you know like what's going on. But we'll just do another one. Here we go. Grabbing another piece. First thing we gotta do, once again, is determine which of the two smaller sides, these skinnier sides, we want to keep and which one do we want to get rid of. I see a massive crack here. The good news is with these cracks on the skinny side, this way, right here, most of those are going to be jointed, right? So most of these cracks will never be seen, which is great. There's only one face that will be seen by the human eye, and that is the front face of the entire piece. So it'll look just like this. And so hopefully, somewhere in all of these beams that I have, and the answer is yes, I'm seeing it right here, we will put the beam that does not have a crack as the number 1, and then every other one, now that I'm thinking about it, doesn't even really matter that it has a crack. So that's all kind of not even important. I'm going to, yeah, I'm gonna surface this side because we can probably get rid of most of this crack. Again, it doesn't really matter, but if I get to choose, why not go for it? Cool. 118. Okay, we're still all right. Got that meeting at 2. I can't actually say what the meeting is about because there could be someone on here that it might be about for. That was a terrible sentence. But I can't say what the meeting's about. Anyway, let's roll. We'll just do this one. I'll point to it like I do.
All right. Get that going. I don't know if you can hear me. I'll just keep talking in case you can kind of hear me. So we're leaving this side. I'm trying to find which one naturally. That's pretty freaking good. See that? Look at that. Right here. That's what I'm looking for. Right there. And it's very, very 90 degrees right now. So we're going to use this as kind of a reference side, and we're going to listen. So here we go. Nice even tone. Okay, I am seeing that side right there is leaving that back fence, so I'm probably going to have to do something to clean that up. That was a decent pass in terms of, I think I got, yeah, totally got the entire side here done. Very, very smooth, perfectly done. Okay, the issue then is that at the end of that pass, I saw the trailing edge right here leave that fence. So I need to do a little bit here to ensure that I make a 90-degree joint. Yeah, okay. I'm seeing that when this sits naturally, I have some space down here. Can anyone hear me? I don't know. GR, I'm throwing you a surprise birthday, GR. Yeah, so I don't know if you can hear me, but I see a little bit of space down there. So what I need to do is I need to kind of feed this in and keep it like that to establish the 90 degrees. So now, if you look, yeah, I can definitely see that I got this side, but it didn't really get this side, which is kind of what I thought was going to happen. But now we should have a 90-degree surface established, and so I'm not moving it, I'm not touching it, and now I see that that is better. So I'm going to do one more time, kind of putting the pressure in the right place so that it stays like that. And that was beautiful. Now I'll grab these. Now I don't have to put any pressure other than just sending it through. Now those two faces are immaculate, and they are perfectly 90 degrees. But because that skinnier face wasn't 90 degrees to the top, yeah, I'm also a little bit worried about... Okay, so that's how it wants to go. Look at this. You see how that's bending? So there's like two surfaces on the underside of this riding on... I don't know if anyone can hear me. There are two surfaces that this can ride on. I want to make sure it rides on this one. See what I'm saying? So I just need to kind of put some more pressure. Where do I need to put the pressure? That feels right. And that started off, it didn't have a nice clean start, so I'm gonna have to go again. But we're just establishing that 90-degree surface here. It was a good pass. I think we got the surface. Yeah, that's looking nice. Still wasn't a nice crisp start, and so I know that we're gonna have to go another pass. Okay, good. Hopefully, you want it to, at the very beginning, you want like a very crisp start. Like right when the blade hits the entire front lip. Better. I probably want to do one more. So now this one's kind of establishing itself as the skinniest piece. So we're probably going to have to plane all the other ones to this thickness. That was the start noise we wanted. Very nice, crisp attack. Yeah, that was it. Okay.
Let's not take a second. Is there any way in the world that people could hear what I was saying there? Get the goggles on. Yeah, this one, I hear what you're saying, Big Squeegee. I should probably put some goggles on. Oh my gosh, you can hear me. So you can hear what I was saying? I don't know, we'll see. This one doesn't kick up anything because it's all contained underneath where it's being cut, if that makes sense. I should probably wear goggles, I know. Wow, that's great. What up, Chester? I don't think I've said hello. Big Squeegee, thank you. So yeah, I don't know if you guys caught that, but essentially what was happening is that on the other two pieces we had done, the original faces were like perfectly 90 degrees to each other, which was fantastic. It made my job really easy. I didn't have to like figure out where to put pressure so that the kind of the reference face was perfectly on this back fence. I just could push it and it already sat correctly. But with some of these right here, yeah, big squeegee. Yeah, we need something better than Husky. We need some. Does Cadillac make goggles? Here they make nice things. Maybe a Rolex goggles. Anyway, that was really dumb. Don't listen to me. So I had to figure out where to put pressure so that I could get my reference face on the fence and make sure these three sides were perfectly 90. And then the last thing that I was saying was that when I was getting this last face right here, I don't know if you could hear the noise that it was making. At the beginning, you want there to be a very instantaneous, like the blade's not hitting the wood, the blade's not hitting the wood, the blade's not hitting the wood, then bam, the blade hits the entire front lip immediately, just right on it, just sorry. What I was hearing is that it was like a little crescendo into full contact. So what was happening is that the leading edge of the wood, it was like just barely getting a little part of that. And then the deeper I pushed it, the more surface contact it was making. So I had to go pass after pass after pass until I heard the blade, bam, hit that front corner and it was making 100% contact. That's what I was trying to, yeah, great question. Goggle suggestions, anybody? We might need some of those. I've been rocking with these goggles for the longest time. And what I did at one point actually is I went on Amazon and I got motorcycle goggles, mostly for the bit of it. Like, yeah, chef, anything but Husky. That is the correct answer. I bought these a long time ago. So it was early on when I was super, super budget. Like, get the cheapest of everything. I could probably afford some extra goggles at this point. But yeah, I got motorcycle goggles off Amazon and I thought it was gonna be like a hilarious look, just like a funny aesthetic that also worked really well because it's supposed to keep wind out of your eyes. It didn't work at all. They were really cheap plastic. So we need some goggle recommendations. We're gonna keep rolling, guys. Why not? It's 1:27. I want to get to the table saw. I think that'd be a cool thing to show you. So we need one more of this. I'm just going to blitz through it because by this point we all kind of know the process. I'll talk through it when I'm going. We're going to, yeah, we're going to leave this side because that has the chance of being a really nice side. Remember, this is going to get cut later. Like a lot of this material is going to go away. I can just tell that like deeper into it, we have such a nice surface. So if I cut away this stuff, we're going to be left with a perfect surface. This crack right here, that will never go away. So I'm just going to, we can get shit to go away on the other side. Plane that, plane this. Let's do it real fast. Hopefully this one's a little bit better. In terms of the 90-degree thing, I'm sure that each part of that original beam was just a little bit different. If ever needed extra hands, let us know. I appreciate it, Chef. Yeah, kind of in the process of figuring that out right now. I've always worked by myself, but there's a lot of demand for custom woodworking right now, which is really cool, but I simply can't meet it at right now, which is, again, really cool. Fortunate place to be in, but the way it's kind of manifested itself is that I'm kind of working myself to the bones physically, and you can get burnt out on it. So that's the kicker, which is why I'm trying to push for YouTube so much, because I really, really like showing people the stories of how things are made, as much or even more so about actually making the things. It's both. I really like doing both. But if there's more variety in what I'm doing, like, yes, I'm making things and that's ticking one box of what I like to do, but then I also have the other box being ticked if I'm telling stories to you guys about how it's made. Super fun. I really enjoy that. Anyway, let's crank this thing out. Safety first. Big squeegee. I'm going to use goggles if I can find them. Here's some. clean as a whistle, right? Goodness gracious. Success, yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Leave. All right. That's pretty nice. Let's see what happens if I. Yeah, it wants to move just a little. Like that. I am going to try flipping this because I don't know. That's nice, but I need a couple better ideas of which is actually flat before I can really determine if they're 90 to each other. That's looking really good. Nice. That felt good. Like that's riding on that fence the entire time. Comes off just a little there, which is a little strange, but I think that might be actually a matter of this side not being flat yet. And I'm looking at that and that's perfect. And that had a good start. The consistent noise. Beautiful riding on the fence back there. Excellent. Okay. 2 of the 3 are done now. Now this last one seemed like it didn't want to be flat. So let's see what we might have to do here. Okay. Yeah. I have to put a little bit different pressure on some places. Okay. I think we've established it. Okay, beautiful. These should be good now.
Okay. That should be good. What do we got here? A lot of sawdust in the goggles. A lot of sawdust. There's carpentry for you. A lot of work, a lot of sawdust. Yeah. Good even contact. No. Yeah, well, okay. The question was, do you feel resistance from the knots? This machine kind of goes hard enough to where, no, you don't really feel resistance from the knots. What knots are, and Chester, you probably know this. A lot of you probably know this, but I'll just go ahead and say it for those that might not know it. These knots right here, what is actually going on? These, hopefully you can see that in the chat, or above the chat. These right here were other tiny sticks or branches that were growing out. So all of this grain is going with my fingers, right? And then this grain is going out towards you. So there's a little moment where the grain orientation changes as far as the cutting head of that blade is concerned. And that jointer does not like to cut on grain going up relative to the surface of this. If I were to run this guy just like this over it, it would work, but what would happen is that the grain over here, it's all running this way, it would blow out, right? It would blow out. So we don't want that. You can kind of feel it, and sometimes what'll happen is if the knots are like really dead, like the sticks that were growing in there kind of died and left like a little cavity, you can blow out some knots, like it'll grab it different and it'll like chew out a knot. That didn't happen here. It all seemed like these knots were pretty reasonable. Hey, I need to check one thing real fast. I'm gonna pause it. I need to just check to make sure the person coming at 2 isn't coming at a different time than 2. 10 seconds, I'll be right back. Let it go again. Let it go again. Come on. Go, little buddy. There it goes. We're good. I assume they're still coming in at 2. What do we got, Chester? Still my morning coffee. Good machine matters. Yes. Yeah, this machine, this was one that I invested in very early. Can't see me. It's kind of a must-have to really crank out bigger, very high-quality pieces. The good news is you can actually get your city's sawmill to do what this machine does. Most sawmills that I'm familiar with, they have that machine and also this machine that I'm about to use, but like industrial versions, like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 machines. And you can ask them, hey, can you get it to a really specific width? And can you make all 4 sides perfectly squared off and flat to each other? And I need it to be 6 inches wide on the dot. I need it to be 1.75 inches thick on the dot. And then you can tell them lengths too, but that's a different thing. And they will do that to where you do not need to touch it on your jointer if you have or don't have one, but you can go immediately into a glue up and your glue up is gonna be perfectly flat. You can get sawmills to do that, which then prevents you from needing to get a jointer back here. Unfortunately, because this material came from someone's house, I suppose I could have gone to the sawmill with this stuff and said, hey, can you do this for me? I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It's not that difficult. So I'm just doing it on my own. But typically my sawmill, where I get all of my other wood, I no longer go get rough cut wood because I know I have to pay them to mill it, but it is so much more efficient for them to mill it and me to pay them rather than me to add 5, 10, 15 hours to a project time charging my rate that I charge for a client. Because it's like not 5, 10, 15 hours for them. It's like an hour, maybe like 30 minutes for them to rip everything you need, like plane it, get the corners perfect. And I guarantee you, they are probably paying their machinist who mills things a lower hourly rate than I need to charge to make all of this survive, I guess you could say. So anyway, I want to do one more thing. We have 20 minutes, and I want to do one more thing here just to show you what the next step of the process is. How are we doing? Is everyone hanging in there? All right, we still got 34 people. That's fantastic. Thank you guys for being a part of this. This is a cool day here. So let me get a cup of water, or more like a handful of water, because I've just been kind of talking nonstop for the past, what is it? Wow, we've been going 2 hours. That's crazy. Back to the watering station. See if I can actually get, I don't think I can get you to actually see me. I'm just drinking water. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And like we got a bucket down here, if you can see that. Cool. So what I need to do, if you caught this earlier, you know that I'm putting these guys, they're not going to be oriented like this, they're going to be oriented the other way, right? And together, they all need to equal, I think it was like 25 inches. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, man, I'm really screwing up the orientation. I'm going to run all of these guys through my table saw to get them close to the correct width here. Then once I do that, one side, this side, is still perfectly flat because we just flattened it. But then the new side that I just cut, I'm gonna have to flip it because this blade right here cannot go tall enough to get all the way through. So I gotta run it once and the blade's gonna get to like right here. I'll flip it, the blade will get to right here, and then it will cut off, but it's gonna leave us like an interface between where those saw marks got. I will then take it back to the jointer, clean up that face, and get them all to a very uniform 6 1/4 width. That's what I'm doing right now. Let's see. So what I want to make sure that I'm going to do first is when I put these guys just like this is stuff that I did last week, okay? When I put them all together, I'm pretty sure they are all, where's a tape measure? Holy moly, where's a tape measure, gang? Had one earlier, didn't I? It is literally nowhere to be found. Oh, there's one over here. Cool. So, right here, I'm pretty sure this is going to equal like exactly 25 inches. Yes. That is pretty much as on the dot for 25 as you can get, which is great. It's exactly what I want. I think the final piece is 24 7/8. And that's pretty much spot on it. Meaning each one of these, let me check my little reference board over here to make sure that is indeed the depth. Where the hell? The depth is 24.875. So these are perfect. These are perfect. And because all the joints are gonna line up going vertically and then horizontally, I have to make all the guys going this way the exact same thickness. Right? And so right now, I'm pretty sure they are all as close to 6 1/4 as you can reasonably get finishing it with a jointer. That's 6 1/4, maybe like a 32nd over it. Same thing there. That's like right on it. So 6 1/4 is the number, but we have to make it wider than that because we're gonna take it back over to the jointer and we're going to clean that up. Bingo. I assume you're talking about the tape measurer. Okay, so the question, my dear friends, is how much larger than 6 1/4 do I need to space this cut so that when I take it to the jointer over here, we are left with 6 1/4. You could do it to where you go way, way, way over. And that's kind of where I'm going to head towards right now. Right now I'm at like, we're going to leave basically 3/16 that we have to take off. I like that. I think taking off 3/16 is going to be, that jointer, theoretically, on every single pass, if you aren't cleaning things up, should be taking off like a 1/16 of an inch, is what it tells me. I don't know how accurate this gauge is, if I'm gonna be honest. So I'm gonna go with a, love the stream. Thank you, GR. I assume you gotta head out. That's completely reasonable. Later, bud. Thanks for tuning in. It was awesome to have you here. What I'm assuming is, I mixed up two conversations. If I cut this 3/16 over, and what I'm making sure of is the right side of my, I don't know if it switches it around, it might mirror this entire thing, so this might be backwards, but this side of the blade, I want to come to 6. There's a quarter right there. There's 6, an eighth, a quarter, 3/8, and a little bit more. I think that's going to give me plenty to be able to take off and still be able to clean it up. That's the goal. So I'm going to do that real fast. I'm going to clean it up. Yeah, Big Squeegee, thanks for welcoming everybody and sending everybody off on a farewell. Where am I going? Here we are. Yes, I'm just going to do one of them right now because, again, I've got like 15 minutes until not really even a client. Someone's just dropping something off, so it's pretty casual. I'm not too worried about it. Yikes, I did not clean the shop though. Okay, so you can see that I'm cutting off. You know, the one thing that is actually a little bit concerning, I don't think this wood is wet, but it definitely feels not as bone dry as the lumber that I'm used to. That's okay, but I'm just cognizant of it. All right, so that's good. Hopefully that's gonna be plenty for you to see. I'm switching now the plug to the table saw from the jointer. I'm gonna plug in the dust collection. Hopefully you can still hear me. All right, now what you'll see when I do this cut is that, one thing I wanna get is the outfeed. That's kind of a long cut here. So I'm getting the outfeed roller. Oh, I hit you guys. Put on the other side of this so that as this thing comes out, please, it catches on something. And how are we doing still? All right, we still got some people. Yeah, it catches on something and it's not just dangling in the wind. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? That's pretty good. All right. Awesome. What you'll see is that the blade will not go all the way through. It's only going to go like halfway through. Six, that's pretty good. 6 times 4 is 24. A quarter times 4 is going to be 25. Leave a little extra. All right, gang. That's as high as the blade can go. It is over half. Let's go for it.
And I'm going to make sure that the side that I have already planed is going into the wool. So you'll see, now this excess side that I haven't planed, it's going to get cut off. Alright, so I'm in my first pass. When I flip it over, you'll see that it didn't get all the way through. Alright, there you go. See how I'm still riding on that same side though? So now, if I've done it all correct, that blade should perfectly meet up right in the middle. It might be a little different, I'll be honest. I have no idea.
What that noise was. It was popping. It might have been a knot. I can also tell you that when I made that first cut, the first cut there, what do we got? Oh yeah, scary machine. It can be. It can definitely be a little, yeah. Top chunk, holding on, yeah. Yeah, that can be a little spooky, honestly. Again, that's the trick of this, these big pieces of wood is that like, I don't have saws. You kind of have to be set up to like cut beams, like with radial arm saws and like massive blades and things like that. And it doesn't come up enough to where I've justified buying huge equipment for beams specifically. So I kind of have to just make do. Now I'm taking that beam that I just cut back over to the jointer, and you can tell kind of honestly that this is the side that I just cut. The reason I know I'm seeing, if you can see it, there are some little arcs right here. That's the blade. And then I can just barely feel with my finger up here. Maybe you can see it that way. You can just see that it wasn't quite perfect. I couldn't even tell you why it wasn't perfect. Theoretically, it should be. And when I'm feeling down here, I can see that interface, but I can't feel it. So this was a really good cut, but it's not perfect. So I'm now going to run that surface that we just cut through the jointer. It's already plugged in. I'll turn this guy on. Awesome. Get the
mask at this. Right on. This should be no problem lining up that 90-degree there. It looks perfect. And it should really just take one pass. Yeah, it wasn't as perfect as I wanted it to be on that one pass. That was better. Okay. Now this guy. Oh, yeah, look at that.
So all of this right here, I don't know if you can see it, super rough. That's because the grain around these knots is end grain. And again, jointers blow out end grain, so that's what's happening there. But all things considered, what I might do real fast actually, let's see. Can't even remember which way I was pushing that into it, but I can go back and I can just run it the other way, and that will get cleaned up very, very well. What I'll check for you here, yeah, so we are at 6 and basically 3/8, just under 6 3/8. And we need to get it to 6 1/4. So I'll be able to run this maybe 2 more times, and then it's gonna be perfectly 6 1/4. We'll have to make sure all of these are the same depth that we've been working on all day. But that is essentially the process that I have used, will use, continue to use to get from what you saw this morning, which was just a long, massive, rough cut beam, and prepare it to where we can have a really nice glue up of 4 different planks just like this. And we'll start cleaning up the top, cleaning up the bottom. Once those are glued up, once these are glued up, and once these are glued up, then we will make the upside down sharp angled U. Yeah, the goggles. Yeah, they do. And it's because I'm strapping them down because they don't work very well. Gang, we're going to call it there. I might try to do a live tomorrow again. I probably am going to try to get these glued up today to keep up with my own schedules, but there will be another glue up tomorrow. Maybe I'll try to show that one. Yeah, Finette, thank you. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Finette, you were the one from France, if I remember correct. Great to have you here. Chef, excellent to have you here. Chester, I know you've been here the whole time. The Real Node, great to have you. Big Squeegee, as always, thank you for being very active in the chats. That looks like most of the comments. GR, I know you're gone, but appreciate it, dude. So yeah, thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time. How do I end this thing? That's the question. What happens if I push this button? Yeah, I want to end streaming. Peace out, everybody. Have a good day.